The name is different. Uh-oh, we need to stop the recording. Okay, well, welcome again, and welcome to the Foundation of Self-Advocacy with Ruth Childs and Lauren Lieberman, and I am going to hand that over to Lauren and Ruth. Take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Elia. Really, really excited that everybody's here. I know it's a busy time of the year, and just wanted to give you a little bit of a background of who we are. I'm a professor at SUNY Brockport, and I teach in the kinesiology department, and I teach adapted physical education, and I run Campabilities. I'm the founder and director of Campabilities Brockport. Ruth?
And my name's Ruth Childs. I'm an associate professor of theater at SUNY Brockport, and I've been working with Lauren for, I don't know, over 5 years on creating and implementing a self-advocacy program that we started at camp. So we're really, really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Ruth. Yeah, it's really the great interdisciplinary work that we're doing. And so what we just wanted to do is share a bit about our institute. If people here are not familiar with our institute, because we run this institute, and the people that are going to be presenting next with us on this series are also from our institute. So this is a little glimpse of what we do in our institute. So please enjoy. There's going to be a test on this.
My name is Dr. Lauren Lieberman. I'm the co-director of the Institute on Movement Studies for Individuals with Visual Impairments and Deaf Blindness, housed at SUNY Brockport. Since 2011, we have had our institute, and we have been promoting research, programming and service learning, educational workshops for parents and teachers, and promoting leadership with undergraduate and graduate students all over the world. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we really hope you'll get involved.
I am Dr. Pamela Heibach-Beach. I am one of the co-directors of IMSV. One of our 4 pillars is leadership. We provide leadership opportunities to undergraduate and graduate students in adapted physical education, kinesiology, and other disciplines through grant writing, conference presentations, leading workshops,
International
and directing
Symposium.
camps.
Hi, my name is Dr. Alex Stribing. I started this journey as a Campabilities Brockport graduate assistant, where I helped run camp for 2 years. I just recently completed my PhD at the University of South Carolina, where I studied motor behavior and special education. I present at national and international conferences. I would like to start the first ever Campabilities at the University of South Carolina. I have been involved with Campabilities Brockport for 10 years now, and it still continues as I'm the assistant director. Without the Institute and Campabilities, I would not be where I am today as a leader.
My name is Lindsay. I've been at SUNY Brockport for about 3 years. I completed the undergraduate physical education program, and now I'm a graduate student in the adapted physical education program. I'm also a Paralympian, and my sport was alpine skiing, and now I'm a blind marathon runner. While at Brockport, I've been able to have many leadership opportunities in the field of adapted physical education. I'm still currently working on some research and helping co-author some articles that we hopefully will get published in the future.
At MZ, we promote education by providing both undergraduate and graduate students with opportunities to teach, research, write, and present about topics related to visual impairment. We also provide professional development opportunities to faculty, teachers, and parents by offering workshops, trainings, and a variety of resources.
This is the International Symposium. Oh, this is the Campabilities Ghana.
I'm proud for being here. I have learned how to throw the whole ball and running.
Yeah, you enjoy the running?
Yes.
This was at the Charge Conference. We go to the Charge Conference and do a lot of presentations and research.
Twisting turns and the sun beats down and it burns, but I keep
Just notice how the kids love to move. All the kids love it.
And every step quicker than the last. My feet tread down this beaten path, and I keep on pushing.
This is our series of videos, sport videos that we made with wrestling, basketball, soccer. Here's basketball, soccer, wrestling. And we have a huge series of free videos on our Capabilities website. We just added outdoor adventure. Here's some books that we have through the American Printing House for the Blind, most of them.
We conduct descriptive and intervention research on physical activity, physical education, and motor skills for children with visual impairments or deaf blindness.
This is Capabilities in Bangladesh. This is the Latvia Capabilities. There's a charge conference. Presentations, award-winning researchers. This is a charge conference, kids from the charge conference. Here's some of our research articles. We can share that if people are interested.
The pillar of the Institute on Programming and Service Learning promotes programs that promote physical activity and motor skills for children with visual impairments or deaf blindness.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Bradwell, and I am currently one of the Capabilities Brockport graduate assistants. Capabilities over the years has
done
the
Braille Challenge. We did.
It's helped me grow as a
at the Braille
person,
Challenge.
as an individual, as a teacher, and as a leader. I started off at Capabilities as a volunteer coach. Throughout my years, I
at the charge conference. This is all our students that we brought to the charge conference.
Help running the back end of the camp duties. Capabilities not only has taught me to believe
this is our
I can
state
achieve, but it's
physical
also
education conference.
taught
All the
the
graduate
athletes.
students that
And I'm so
presented.
grateful for Capabilities because it's made me the leader I am today.
There's Capabilities Brazil here. Brazil. Tactile board biking, bowling.
Hi, my name is Hayden, and I'm proud of me ice skating 5 laps and only falling once, so that's why I'm proud.
This is the fitness center, track and field, swimming. This is our camp in Brockport, ball, line soccer, fitness, kayaking. Gymnastics, basketball, youth baseball.
Physical activity is important for kids with visual impairments. Thank you for your time. We hope you can join us.
We hope you enjoyed that. That was one of our COVID projects. We did that. One of our many COVID projects, obviously. And so we just want to ask, what do people think of as self-advocacy? When you saw this presentation, what did you think about? What did you think it was? You want to put it in the chat? Yeah. Let's see.
Feeling capable and proud. Great. Any other ideas? William says, being respected for your choices in life. Empowering our young kids to present themselves to the world. No problem about the caps. Independence and knowing you're more than able. Great.
And Lisa said she didn't expect us to be focusing on movement and the blind in advocacy. It's interesting because Ruth and I will tell you, we just finished an entire book on how do you infuse self-advocacy through health and physical education. It is a great vehicle to promote self-advocacy. Well, we'll talk more about that, but thanks for saying that, because I think some people might not put that together.
Speaking up for things you need. Yeah. These are all great. Self-confidence, being able to express your self-efficacy to others. Yeah, communication's a really important part of self-advocacy.
And physical activity is one thing that a lot of people don't think our kids can't do. And it's up to them to tell them what they can do, really.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, Ruth?
Okay. Lauren, do you want to go back to slide 2 really quick and just show oh, maybe, okay, well, oh, all right. So what we're wondering is if you would be able to share with us, when have you advocated for yourself or others? Any particular examples?
Deborah said that self-advocacy is knowing that you deserve to be a happy and contributing member of your world, speaking up for yourself to be your best you. That's a great definition. And then Lisa said, on my daughter's IEP team, so that you had to advocate for her. Lisa, that's a great example. Because we need to also teach the parents how to advocate for what they want on the IEP and for physical education and all the other areas that your child needs. Go ahead, Ruth. You want to read Carolyn's?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, forgot to move this. Lauren, I think I'm on the wrong slide here. Sorry.
This is, Carolyn said, battling to get access to PE class for a blind student when the presumption was this might be a good time for piano practice. Thank you. That is a great time to advocate, because physical education is a direct service. So that it can we have to turn on closed captioning. Let's see.
Deborah asked that closed captioning be turned on in any webinar that isn't. Great.
Live transcription has been enabled, so you should be able to see it. Okay. Deborah, if you can't, we'll ask Olaya to do it again. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good advocacy. Thank you, Deborah. Oh, I see, Deborah. You're saying that's one way that you advocate.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I got it. Okay. All right, wonderful.
Great.
So just an overview of our presentation. This is actually a copy of our book that Ruth and we co-edited. This book, Infusing Self-Advocacy Through Physical Education and Health Education. And the whole book is the philosophy of self-advocacy and some of the topics we're going to talk about today. But so this is a 2-part series. Today is we're just overviewing the foundation of why is self-advocacy important, particularly for kids with visual impairment and particularly in physical education and sport. So we're going to talk about what is self-advocacy, the dignity of risk, pre-teaching. We're going to share some bullying research, universal design for learning, and then standards for health and physical education.
Great. So here's the definition of self-advocacy from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. It's defined as the act or process, I need to move this up, of supporting a cause or proposal, the act or process of advocating for something. This definition gives a general foundation for the spirit of self-advocacy. And Lauren and I used this as a guide when we really started digging into what self-advocacy was and how we can teach it to all children. And what I like about this is it makes it seem like an active process, and that there are different ways to work on it and continue to work and improve on your skills throughout your life.
And I just want to add on to what Ruth was saying is that when we first started delving into this area, the only research and programs that had been done on self-advocacy were for kids with intellectual disabilities, not kids who are able-bodied and no other disability. So it was kind of strange to us related to that. And then so I don't know if this is right. What slide number is this?
I'm
sorry, we numbered the slides, but there's no number on here.
I think I have a different numbering system. So
okay.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, though, I wanted to talk about the dignity of risk, because how many of you have heard, I'm sure you have, where the physical education teacher says, this moves too quickly and it's too dangerous for you. And our kids get pushed aside because they're worried they're going to get hurt. Well, the dignity of risk says it's allowing the individual the dignity afforded by risk with subsequent enhancement of personal growth and quality of life. So basically, our kids should make the decision if they want to take the same risk as their peers. They have that right. Regardless of age or ability, all individuals have the right to self-determination and to take reasonable risks. If we make some modifications, we slow down the game, we give them some guidance and maybe a peer tutor or paraeducator if necessary, they should be able to do every single unit their peers doing. An individual with a disability should not be prevented from opportunities to participate in activities that are deemed risky. I have to do this too, because taking away that risk devalues their human dignity. And then that's just what one of our kids said. Risk is an essential and important aspect of life, and everybody should understand how to navigate that risk. And then also, individuals with visual impairments have the right to a future where they have access to all physical activity opportunities. In order to accomplish this, students with visual impairments must understand the risk associated with each activity equivalent to their sighted peers. And we have lots of examples of these. I mean, we have kids, like one of our kids, when her physical education class was playing hockey, and her physical education teacher had her dancing in the hallway with her paraeducator, because he said that's something that she's more likely to use in her future. So he automatically eliminated hockey as an opportunity for her when she grows up. Well, I don't know if everybody knows, but there's a huge blind hockey movement that Maddie would have no access to or no knowledge about if we didn't intervene. And so this is such an important concept, this dignity of risk. But the other thing we have to remember is that many children with visual impairments are denied the opportunity to take risks equal to their same age peers. And I bet if we ask the people here, if you have experience where the physical education teacher told your students that they couldn't participate, we'd probably get a lot of yeses from these people. Because many physical education teachers, coaches, or parents, they fear for the safety of children with visual impairments without giving them choices. They just take it away from them because they're afraid they're going to get hurt. The one constant in these situations is the child. We can teach the parents, train the parents. We can train the teachers, but the one constant is the child. So we have to teach them how to stand up and advocate for themselves. And that's a must in my mind.
Yep.
Go ahead, Ruth.
So I can take this one. Pre-teaching is a great way to infuse self-advocacy directly into the curriculum, providing variables in equipment, rules, instruction, environmental modifications that will give the students a voice to advocate for what they prefer. Pre-teaching has to be planned, implemented, and discussed for every single unit on an ongoing basis. And pre-teaching will help students succeed in any given class, but it'll also help them throughout their lives because it gives them a specific tool that is transferable to all different kinds of situations to show them, okay, here are the choices I have, here's what I prefer, and here's how I advocate for myself in this particular unit, whether it's bowling or in a work or community activity. So pre-teaching is a great tool.
And these are just some examples of some equipment that
Mhm.
we provide kids. Like there's some auditory balls, different color bowling pins, just to give the kids choices when they're doing their pre-teaching. And then I just wanted to share this study that we did. So over the pandemic, we had a lot of time to do research. That's what we did in our free time, made videos and did research. But this was eye-opening and kind of sad, but it really made us empowered that related to bullying, we did a review of literature on bullying during physical education for children with visual impairments. And what we found was there was 114 kids in the studies and all of the research that we looked at. But what we found was that the bullying was higher when the teacher did not modify the activity because the disparity in performance was greater. So the kids who are able-bodied are looking at the kids with visual impairments like how come you can't do this? And putting them down and belittling them and teasing them. But when the teacher did make modifications and their performance was more equal to their peers, there was much less bullying. But we have to teach the kids how to ask the teacher for the modifications, or else it is going to happen. They are going to get bullied. And it's much less likely that they'll be bullied if they can speak up for themselves. This really hit home for us when we did this. And again, pre-teaching also helps bullying because they know what the options are, what are the variables related to equipment, rules, instruction when we do the pre-teaching. Okay.
And kids are getting that information before the unit, not on the first day with all of the changes going on. So.
And so this is talking about universal design for learning. Has anybody, want to ask if anybody's used universal design for learning in their physical education or even in any of your classes? Anybody want to share? Yeah, this is a really good point, Lisa, that you put in there, that if everybody else is getting physical education every day, why are kids with visual impairment only getting it twice a week? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to take a stab at universal design? I know it's pretty big in special ed, but it hasn't been implemented in physical education as much. But I can just share how we're implementing this into physical education. What we're doing is, here, Lisa said it's a term I've heard used for the design of watches that are accessible to all. That's a great example,
that's
Lisa.
a great example.
Yeah, curriculum is accessible to all. A support for one can be used for many. Exactly, Tanya. That's a really good point because, and that's the one thing that I try to emphasize with people, that kids don't want this modification just for them. They don't want this piece of equipment just for them. It's actually, Grace asked, is it a standardization? It's not actually a standardization. You universally design your class according to the needs of everyone, but everybody has access to those variables. And then Deborah said, providing alternatives that will allow for different methods of engagement, representation, and expression. Yeah, you read the book, Deborah. Good job. Multiple means of engagement, expression, and representation. Okay, now Grace got it. Okay, good. And so this has been a term and an approach to teaching since the 80s. And it started out in computers and went to architecture during the 90s related to ADA. And then, but we haven't really applied it to physical education until 2008 was the first time we actually started using it. But now a lot more people are universally designing their classes so every single child can access the curriculum and nobody is left out. And that's what has to happen. And, we get calls all the time that say, what's the adapted curriculum? There's no adapted curriculum. The curriculum's the same for kids with and without disabilities. We just have to universally design it. And I want to we don't have time tonight, but the top link is a short video about universal design for learning for physical education. And then the bottom link is an infographic that has an entire 14-page PDF with examples and links and websites and books related to universal design for learning for physical education. So please share these with your physical education teachers, your coaches. because a lot of people have not learned this in their professional preparation programs in physical education. And I don't think that vision teachers or mobility instructors have learned this in their professional preparation programs, but we're trying to fill the gaps in both areas here. And this is all through the National Center for Health, Physical Activity, and Disability. Okay, so Universal Design for Learning.
Here are a couple other resources available for paraeducators, a couple books, strategies for inclusion, and we just move this, paraeducators in physical education. And obviously also the Campabilities website has tons of materials, like Lauren said, and some really amazing videos on all different kinds of sports. So those are some great resources.
Yes, and these books, again, they're from Human Kinetics, and like Ruth said, good resources, and you can share those. And then this is our Universal Design for Learning and Physical Education book, and this is a whole book on all aspects of Universal Design for Learning. I mean, there's an entire chapter on multiple means of expression, multiple means of representation, and I think it would be a great resource for a district if they need help for that. Because the other thing, Universal Design gives the kids the variables and options that they can choose from when they can self-advocate. So let's say you're going to play volleyball and a child says, oh, I know, well, I used a beach ball and I had a partner and I served from a little closer to the net and I'm good, I can do it. And so those few variables that they know about, then they can advocate for themselves from universal design. If you don't universal design it, it's less likely that they'd be able to be included in everything. Okay. God, Ruth?
So we see a natural connection between self-advocacy and self-determination. This is an issue that we definitely explore in our book. And we'll cover this in detail or give you more sort of nitty-gritty on it in our webinar that we're running next week. But we just wanted to sort of drop this idea in that these two terms are definitely linked, and self-advocacy feeds directly into self-determination.
Awesome.
And here's how. So you can see that the relatedness, connection to others, autonomy, whether or not you get to choose, just like in that pre-teaching, what is the tool you would like to use to participate in a given sport, and then competence, so experiencing mastery in these activities. All of these three factors directly lead into self-determination. And I think that the connection to self-advocacy is clear here.
Yeah, and the other thing that opened Ruth's eyes and my eyes when we were trying to tie into the standards for physical education, health education, social emotional learning, you cannot meet the standards for any of those areas without self-advocacy. You can't get to autonomy or competence or relatedness, and that's a big part of all of these standards. And it's just shocking that people haven't been promoting self-advocacy, because kids aren't going to learn unless it's intentionally taught. Just like we talk about the expanded core curriculum, it should be the 10th component of the ECC, because it's so important to get along in your life.
Well, and just one last thing related to that is the research that Lauren and I have done as we were preparing to work on the book. There are very, very few studies on self-advocacy. We found some from 20, 30 years ago, but there's hardly any research that's been done in the last 20 years that's really meaningful and that relates to all different kinds of kids. So we just think this is obviously a very important topic, but one that has not been looked at closely enough.
Yeah, and this brings me to I want to take a break and show you this video, because one of the things that was irritating me, people would always call me and say, what do the kids need? What do kids with visual impairments need? And I said, you know what? Why don't we ask them what they need to be included in physical education? So let me just show you what they said. This is called I Feel Included When. And Hopefully this will
So
work.
of this video is to help
Teachers.
administrators, professors, paraeducators understand what children with visual impairments want and need to feel included in physical education.
And it comes come all the way.
Jump higher.
I feel included when?
What makes me feel included in my gym class is when my peers and friends include me in whatever activity they're doing and I'm not just left on the sidelines.
When I'm working out in the weight room, my coach explains and helps me.
I get first pick on a team. When I get to participate in many sports, I am able to compete and have fun with my friends. When people like cheer me on during some of the games that we play. When I excel and help my team at sports that have been modified so I can participate within the group. When they have the right equipment for me and my friends agree to help me.
When the teacher modifies their activities so that way I am able to do it instead of just having me do something else.
When the people ask me if I want to play.
When they ask me first if I want the modification, sometimes, I'd rather, decide for myself if I need it.
Don't say that I can't do something just because I'm blind, because, well, I can.
Try to figure out what they want to do, what they feel comfortable with, and try to, do things to make that possible and let them be with the other group.
A loss of sight is not a loss of vision. If you believe you can achieve, you are strong.
We are all normal kids. We want to be treated that way. We just need some help sometimes. We just want to play with the rest of them.
You can climb, you can hike, you can tumble, you can...
I like how he heard right from the kids what they want, what they need to feel included when. So why doesn't anybody want to tell me, what did you hear? What did the kids say they need to feel included? Who wants to share one of the things that you heard related to inclusion? I like being asked if it needs modified. Good. The right to choose. To be asked whether they want a modification. Excellent. They have the option to choose. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be treated as every other child. Ask them, cheer them on, include them. Yeah. A loss of sight, not a loss of vision. That's actually one of our mottos for Campabilities. Thanks for noticing that. The power and the control is theirs. Exactly. They have autonomy. That was the point. I really loved how it came through there. We need to ask and listen. Exactly. Be with their peers. That was a big one that came through, being with their peers. And also never picking teams. We shouldn't pick teams anyway. I was sad that they even said that. They even pick teams at their schools. Find out a lot of things when you do these.
But I think that video also relates to what you were saying, Lauren, in terms of the dignity of risk, that too often we make an assumption about what a child can or cannot do, and they want to have the choice.
Yeah, I like that. Make no assumptions. Right. Good point, Ruth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. By the way, that's our Campabilities theme song. I can tell you where to get it. So go ahead, Ruth.
Great. So we have a question for you, and if you wouldn't mind putting some feedback in the chat. And the question is, related to what we just spoke about, why should we infuse self-advocacy into our programs?
Can't find this.
So anything to add? You can just pop it in the chat. This relates to all aspects of life. You do need it every day. So everyone feels empowered. These are great. To include peers. Gives them the chance to know they can. Yes. As you keep saying, everyone has a right, translates to other types of advocacy, not just self-advocacy. Yes, that's a wonderful point. Every person's unique and only they can say what they wish and need. You can learn skills and info, but if you're not able to make choices, what good does it do? An opportunity to practice speaking up. Yeah, that's a great point, and something that Lauren and I have talked about a lot and worked with the campers a lot is the idea that this is a skill that can be practiced just like playing a sport. You don't master it immediately, but you practice and practice and practice. And then you can relate it to all these other areas in your life. Making choices grows a person. Many kids are not getting these opportunities in daily routine life. Expectations can be very minimal and low, right? And learning to self-advocate can help you in that area, clearly.
Yeah, one of our kids, they weren't going to let him be on his cross-country team because he's blind. And we fought for him, and we got a guide. He started out really slow, 12-minute miles on his cross-country team. He just ran the Rochester half marathon under 2 hours. I mean, so they literally lowballed him, and he's been working and working and working. I don't know if anybody saw our HBO special, but he was one of our kids on our HBO special, but really meeting his potential. It's just great to see, but they have to be given the opportunity, and they're the ones, most of the time, they're going to pave that way. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Oh, wait, practice gives you something in your memory bank to pull from. It builds persistence and resilience. Yes.
Right. And that's why we want to see it in the curriculum.
And I just want to give a shout out to Ruth, because after we wrote the textbook, Ruth wrote a grant. We got a grant to write, and we call it the Self-Advocacy Playbook. And we just finished it, and it's free on our Capabilities website under books. It's a curriculum for self-advocacy through sport and physical activity. So many teachable moments. Yeah, exactly. And throughout the day, but particularly in physical education and health. So we just want to make that emphasis. Okay. Go ahead, Ruth.
Okay, so these are the 4 components of self-advocacy, and we just wanted to briefly go over these so you can start thinking of, how you possibly can infuse this into what you're doing. So the first component is knowledge of self, which is obviously just having a deeper understanding of who you are, what your choices might be, what your preferences are, what you want at any given moment. The next component is the knowledge of rights, which is, what is my right? Am I allowed to be included? Am I allowed to play sports every day? Am I allowed to be on a cross-country team? Am I allowed to take part in gymnastics? So really having a good understanding of what your rights are, and obviously how you advocate yourself related to that. The third part, I think, is often overlooked, and it's very, very important, and that is communication. So one of the things we've worked on a lot is, how do you communicate what you want to a teacher, a coach, someone who runs an after-school program that you want to participate in? And also, how do you practice that skill of communication? So maybe you make a little outline of your presentation that you want to give, and then you practice it, you rehearse it. That's where the theater comes in. You rehearse it with someone so that the student going in to advocate for themselves feels really confident in their presentation skills, their communication skills. And also they know how to switch gears if what they're doing isn't quite working. And then the fourth piece, and I think someone put this in the chat before, is leadership. And this component of self-advocacy really brings together the 3 previous components so that a child or young person can start advocating for others. And to us, this is like the capstone of self-advocacy. So you've practiced advocating for yourself, but now you can advocate for others. And I think that's a pretty special place to get to in your development with self-advocacy.
Yeah, and I also think, like Ruth saying, practice. And that's why, like Ruth talks about the art of persuasion, and that's her specialty, among other things. And so she's teaching the kids how to tell somebody who has a bias or has a stigma against them to change their mind. And that sometimes can be really difficult to do, and they have to learn how to be persistent, and calm and rational. And we have to give them the tools to do that. So it
Yes.
really is a sport.
And one of the things we worked on is, giving them a really brief outline of what a persuasive speech or a persuasive presentation could look like, and how they can incorporate their qualities and what they're advocating for into that template. And that's worked really well. So it's something that kids can practice and repeat. Yeah.
Thank you, Ruth. And then Melissa said, oh, the self-advocacy book, it's posted on the familyyconnect.org website. It's also on the Capabilities website, and it's also on the Foreseeable Future website. So we try to get it out there. It's free, download it, share it.
Yep.
And Donna said, hi, Donna. And Donna said, thank you for this slide. I think this is the concept you mentioned earlier, that she was trying to grasp it,
Great.
but now you see how it all fits together, which is great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donna. All right, Ruth.
Okay, so, and then here, and again, we'll go into this in more detail next week, but these are the 5 steps of self-advocacy that a student or child can work on. So the first thing they need to do is identify the issue. What is it that they want to advocate for? Step 2, what do they need to resolve the issue? So they need pre-teaching, they need a different kind of ball, they need more time, they need to be included. Step 3 is who can help me resolve the issue? So who is it out there that I need to persuade? Whose mind do I need to change? Step 4, effectively communicate my needs. And we talked about that earlier. And step 5, and I think this is really important in a child's development, but reflecting on the outcome of my self-advocacy. Did I get exactly what I wanted? Did I get some of what I wanted? Did I get nothing? So now what do I do? And building that resiliency and building that reflection is such an important part of this process. So these steps really reflect the 5 different pieces, the progression of self-advocacy.
Thank you, Ruth. And I just have a really cool example.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Anna, you might hear about Anna next
Do it now, that's good. Yeah.
This really hit home for me when she is in a general class in her classroom, but when she went to physical education, they always put her in a self-contained class. She has low vision, she has a bit of an intellectual disability, and she loves her friends and she wanted to be with her friends. And they just kept, when in our IEP, they never talked about her placement, but her placement mattered. I always say placement matters because placement matters so much. And so we talked about it, we practiced. When you go to your IEP meeting, tell them that you want to be in the general physical education class with your friends. Because the class that she was in had kids who are nonverbal, kids with cerebral palsy, and they couldn't do as much as she could do, and she didn't really get to learn the same units her peers learned. So she went to her IEP meeting, she practiced and practiced, her parents were there, and so they said, you have the floor. And Anna said what she wanted, what she needed, and you know what? Anna's in her general physical education class with her friends. When they go to their IEP meeting, they revisit it. She says, I want to stay there. They stay there. She did that. And from there, she has just blossomed and she has been able to advocate for herself whenever she needed it. So I just think that this is so important that we need to recognize when kids want something different and help them get that. Now, one of the things that Ruth talked about was reflect on the outcome, because sometimes people just budge a little bit and they don't really give the kids exactly what they want. Like, for example, one of our kids who advocated to be on his cross-country team, he got to be on his cross-country team, but they made him run with his mother. And he's like, okay, that wasn't what I was talking about. He's like, I want to run on the cross-country team as fast as I can. So this is Chris, and so then they got him after I called them and said, unless you get everybody's mother out there, I don't think it's fair to make him bring his mother to cross country. So then they did get him a guide that was much faster and was a younger person that was like more his age. And so, but he had to advocate again. It wasn't like, okay, thanks for letting me be on the team, but that's not enough. kids don't want to be selfish or rude, but then again, they still need to get what they deserve. And so it is sometimes a 2 or 3 or 4 step process.
Yeah. And it's important that they understand that usually is how it goes, right? You don't, that you're going to have to keep adjusting and continuing to fight for what you need and deserve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was going to see if anybody, let's see, it is 7:49. This is.
We have plenty of time, Lauren.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have this webinar until 8:30, so we're good.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so we want to talk about an action plan. So if everybody can think about what we did, what we talked about, okay? Everybody think about what we talked about. And what we want you to do is think of an action plan, okay? What will you do, to help either your own children, the children you teach, the families that you work with? It's called 10-10-10. What will you do within the next 10 days, within the next 10 weeks, and within the next 10 months?
And it might be nice if people could put in the chat, an example, like here's something a way I could help infuse self-advocacy into my program or into a lesson, or, in the next 10 days or in the next 10 weeks or in the next 10 months. And then we can get maybe a variety of examples. Great. So Donna said, add this skill to my list of skills and concepts to be covered in my O&M curriculum with every student. That's awesome. And Donna, if you look at the Self-Advocacy Playbook, there's some really nice, simple lesson plans in there that you could use if you'd like. Sharing capabilities with my parents. Great. Thank you so much. You're welcome. And anything else that anyone could implement in the short term, medium term, or long term?
And by the way, one of the reasons why we're having this series now is so that kids can kind of get ready for their summer of being active and getting participating.
Give my daughter more opportunities to make her own choices. 10 days. That's awesome, Lisa. Just while you're thinking, I also want to share, it's so powerful at Capabilities when we have students reflect on where they need to self-advocate, and then also success stories, and the children and young adults that are there really empower one another and help problem solve for one another. And it's a pretty amazing experience. Wouldn't you agree, Lauren, when they help each other out?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Grace says, have a conversation and share information, RE self-advocacy to educational coordinator and PE teacher. Share resources provided here. Print the playbook. Yes, please. We made it to share.
It's in large print already too.
Another step in the action plan could possibly come to some more of the webinars and get some more ideas.
Yeah, lots of good ideas in the webinar. One of the things I want to say too is that when a lot of times teachers or parents are really well-meaning and they'll say, what guide running technique do you want? Like, for example, and the child will say, oh, I think I just want to run with the tether. I just want to run with a human guide. And then I ask them, do you know all of the guide running techniques? I know human guide. So when we give the kids choices, we have to make sure they really know all the choices that are out there. Like, I was in a pool swimming with one of the kids and he said, oh, I want to use a kickboard. So I had him reach over to get the kickboard. But then he was like feeling this life jacket. He was feeling noodles. He was feeling all these other kind of life jackets. He said, oh, what are all these things? And I was thinking that he knew all the options of flotation devices, but he didn't. He picked the only one that anyone had ever shown him. And so I want to just emphasize making sure that the kids know all the options that are out there. And it's eye-opening to me when I think that kids understand the whole picture and they just don't. And so that's why pre-teaching is so important. You don't have a choice if you don't know everything that's out there. And so during pre-teaching, they should understand, well, here's what a pitched ball is. Here's a batting tee. You can bat off the tee. You can throw it to yourself. These are all the different options for batting. But unless you're taught those, then you're not going to know. And I think that's really important. Teaching them all the choices before you give them the choice.
Does anyone have any specific questions that they would like to ask, or any other comments or feedback?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I can put our emails, but if everybody wants to hang on to, I was going to show you the Self-Advocacy Playbook and our website to kind of navigate through there and show you some resources. So here's my...
Can you open it?
This is my email, and then Ruth's is rchilds at brockport.edu. Okay, so if you want to take down those emails. Yeah, and so also I would love everybody to invite your physical education teachers, these are our references, but I want to show everybody. So this is how you get to the Campabilities website. It's just campabilities.org. And then you can go, there's two different really awesome links to resources. Instructional Materials, and then this one says Lavelle Resources for Children with Moderate and Severe Disabilities. So we're doing a lot of more work now for kids with visual impairment and additional disabilities, deaf, blind, kids who have CVI, kids who also have autism. And so this is under Instructional Materials. This is our library of really in-depth videos. This is all from Lavelle. These are from Lavelle. All be baseball, volleyball, tennis, soccer, basketball, track and field. This is cross-country, swimming, and wrestling. So those are the ones. Every sport, you give it to the after-school coach, you give it to the PE teacher. And then we also have, this is the I Feel Included video on here. This is a video promoting balance with kids with Charge syndrome. On the left here is teaching gross motor skills to kids with visual impairment or deaf blindness. And the staff training is training the physical education teacher and the para educators. We have, this is an awesome one about how do you infuse expanded core curriculum components into physical activity. This was a cute one about kids with Charge syndrome doing motor skills. It's very upbeat and fun. The kids love it. And this one we just finished this. This is about teaching foundational motor skills to kids with visual impairments with additional disabilities, kids who are deaf blind, kids with Charge syndrome, kids with multiple disabilities, and it's all how they do object control, locomotor, and fitness skills. It's really a fun video. And Ruth narrated that one. And then we just finished this whole series of outdoor adventure videos because outdoor adventure is such a great thing in the summer, and so many able-bodied kids are kayaking or biking or fishing, and we want our kids to be able to do that. So we have stand-up paddleboard video, rock climbing, kayaking, fishing, biking, and hiking. How do you break the whole skill down, make sure that kids with visual impairments can be included? Because these are a lot of the activities that physical education teachers or even camp counselors will say, oh, no, you're blind, you can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, they can. They can do it very well and shine. So this is a brand new series that just came out. And then our instructional files here. These are all books that you can download. Some of these are from APH. And then this is the Self-Advocacy Playbook here. And I'm just going to show you this playbook. It's called I Hope, I Can, I Will. And it's, like I said, it's in large print. So it says, embracing your truth, the power of I will. What is self-advocacy anyway? The foundations of self-advocacy. This is explaining the 5 steps of self-advocacy and relating it back to them. So everything is like a, would you say, Ruth, it's a curriculum. So they're actually looking at their own needs related to each thing.
And just while Lauren's scrolling through that, we designed this playbook with a child in mind. So the idea is that a child or young person will go through this on their own or with a teacher or a coach or a parent. So it's specifically designed for a young person to access. So that's how we've, that's the tone that we've really worked on. So we hope it's successful.
And then, Ruth wrote a lot about persuasive speaking and teaching the kids how to, the art of persuasion. And then you want to talk about reflect on the outcome?
Yeah, that's just like I mentioned before, that it's helping students sort of recognize what happened when they self-advocated. What did they get? What did they not get? What went well? What could they work on for next time? That kind of thing. And I think that's a really critical step in the process, but it also is a point where the child or young person can really grow and think critically. But we wanted it to be manageable for the students and feel like it's something like a sport. Like that's what I keep coming back to, that you can work on these skills just like you would work on any sport.
And then we also had, like, what if I didn't get what I want? Like, how do you get around that or through that, or how do you go back to the drawing board? And then being proactive, finding solutions before the problem arises. If that, like I always say to the kids, if you want to go out for your volleyball team or you want to go out for the swim team, you have to tell that coach before the season, because otherwise you show up to tryouts and they're flustered and they didn't really realize a child with a visual impairment is going to be trying out for the team, and they get anxious. And because the other thing that happens in New York State, at least, you have to, if you have any variations in the rules or equipment, you have to go to the New York State High School Athletic Association, make sure the accommodation is acceptable, and then you have to tell the referees before you get to the competition, and the other coaches have to know. So there's all this that has to happen. So making sure that you're being proactive when you're doing some activities or joining a sports team or program.
Yeah, planning.
And then we're telling the kid, don't stop, dream. What are your goals? What are your ambitions? Don't take no for an answer.
Grace has a question here, Lauren. She says, do you have anything written on building tenacity, determination, and shaping themselves as an athlete or competent sports person?
Great question. There's a book called, here, I'll show you. There's a book called Going Places, this one, and that actually helps them figure out who they are and how they get what they want. And then when you find the sport, how do you build those skills in that sport or activity?
And I think also in the playbook, there's a lot of worksheets and steps that are written in, and little sort of like pop-outs where you can sort of brainstorm ideas. And I think that the playbook would give them some opportunities to at least think about ways that they could build that tenacity or envision what they want and the steps they would need to take to get there. So it gives them a plan.
Yeah, like for this, the sport modification checklist, this is actually a checklist where you would actually write down the modifications you need for each sport. And then when you are going to go out for that sport, you know exactly what you need to ask for.
Right. So we developed that with the campers at Campabilities. So for example, if they want to play basketball, here are 6 possible modifications they could ask for, so that when they go in to talk to their PE teacher or the basketball coach, they can say, what I need is a beeping ball, and I need different colored pennies, and I need a what else, Lauren?
Oh, they take their cane and tap the.
Oh yeah, someone tapping the backboard so they can pick what they want.
Oh, and we also, so then, like Ruth saying, okay, this is what I need. And then we also have a table where it has the teacher's concerns. So the teacher will say, but you can't do it because of this. And then we give them the responses, and then they practice that. So we created like pretty common rebuttals from teachers, and then we taught, and then we teach the kids how to speak confidently, what they should say. So that's part of the playbook. And then Ruth made these self-advocacy guiding questions that are really helpful, because they really have to think about what it is they want. What will they accept? What is the end goal?
Yeah, and then the last thing there is the template for the persuasive speech. So that gives students an idea of how they could put a little speech together and practice it.
So this is the Self-Advocacy Playbook. Please download it, share it. And we are going to be sending this to the Campabilities around the country this summer, whoever chooses to use it. But anybody can download it now, now that it's out. So cool.
Are there any other questions or comments or feedback? Oh, that's a good question. Lisa said, any tips for encouraging a desire in individuals to try more?
Has anybody ever seen Chris Nickick? He's the first person with Down syndrome to do the Ironman. And his motto is 1% more. You don't have to kill your record. You just have to try a little bit more than the day before. And I saw him present at a conference a couple weeks ago, and it was awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, we hope you'll utilize these resources. There's lots more. You got to just go through these.
And what's the name of the Down syndrome?
His name is Chris Nickick, and he's actually written a book about it. But it was actually over COVID. He was kind of a couch potato. He said he really liked golf and basketball, but he thought, if I could be the first person with Down syndrome to do an Ironman, I could have a nice house and have a hot wife like my mother. He was so funny. And he just pushed himself, and even when his half Ironman was canceled, he went and did it anyway. Wow. Thank you, Lindsay. I hope Lindsay said she loved this, and
thanks, Lindsay.
I hope that other people keep thinking about this. Donna said, great stuff. This is in harmony with what we teach deafblind folks for interacting with the public, but better organized. So I have to look at what we have and incorporate some of this. Great. And all of this, Donna, can be applied to kids who are deafblind as well. It's not specific just to kids with visual impairment. And actually, our self-advocacy textbook is for all kids. It's not for kids with disabilities at all. It's for all kids. That's through Shape America. That's coming out in September, that self-advocacy book.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. So if anybody wants to stay on, I mean, what we could do now is I'll stop sharing, and then if people want to even unmute themselves and speak. Let's see.
And thank you to everyone for taking time tonight. We appreciate it. We know it's a busy time of year.
Yeah.
And don't forget, for everybody on the call, Lauren and Ruth will be back next week.
Yeah.
On the 24th, and I'm putting that information in the chat. They will be back with us next week from 7 to 8, and talking about infusing self-advocacy into your programs. So please make sure that you join us for that. And I'm gonna pause the recording real quick so that thank you. Well, yes, thank you, Lauren and Ruth, for all this great information you know, just thinking about everything that you guys were presenting and thinking about not only self-advocacy, but how this ties into transition and transition planning. And it just
Exactly.
ties into
Yep.
so many things, and just so helpful for everyone on the call, just looking at all of the awesome comments and things you were getting. So looking
Yeah,
forward to
thank
next
you.
week for sure. For
So
sure.
Grace, I have to ask Grace, where do you live, Grace?
Where is Grace?
Grace is still here.
Let me see. Yep, Grace is still here. Oh,
New
let's
York
see.
City. Okay. Yeah, Grace, we can, I mean, we have Campabilities in Long Island, and we have one a little closer in like Utica. But if you like, we can figure out a way. We have some room in our camp. If you'd like to send your kiddos up to Brockport, we can figure that out with the commission. The commission's been really supportive. And then there's also one in Cadvey. We have 3 camps a little closer to you, but ours is a little further away. But there's money. I mean, the commission pays for the kids' tuition.
That's awesome.
Oh, next week we're going into how do you implement self-advocacy.
Yeah, it's just a little more
in depth.
detail.
I put it back in the chat just in case.
So if you can see this, Donna, you can share that with people.
Oh, Invitation Australia.
That sounds fun.
I know, right?
Carolyn, I'm working with Next Sense. I'm doing workshops every month. If you want to go through Next Sense, I'm doing maybe check with them with Trudy Smith.
Oh, the link to register for next week. Yes, I will. I'm gonna paste the description, and at the I see the where it says register here, it's not live. Let me get the live link for you. Copy the link address and I will put it in the chat. Okay, there you go. You should be able to register now with that link. Let me make sure. Yep, if you click on it, it'll go straight to the webinar registration for the 24th.
Great.
Busting the commission budget.
Yeah, and we did, Carolyn, we did talk about this when we were in Scotland. So
my goodness, do y'all need assistance? Because I'll be glad to travel with you.
Lauren's a big traveler. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have that conference again actually in May next year in British Columbia. Exciting.
Oh.
Yeah, we know a lot more now. It's funny, Ruth, you think back then
we
knew now, we know more now than we knew then, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Wow, you guys are doing great stuff. This is amazing. I'm just looking at all that stuff. It's like there's so much there.
There's too much.
I mean, but it's good. It's better to have more than not enough.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
and each webinar is going to be like this. Like we have just packed
tons of stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great to have an outlet and be able to share it too.
Yes. Oh my, and believe me, we're getting it out there, and other people are getting it out there as well. So this is
Thank you,
great.
Virginia.
Thank you, Virginia.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop recording.
Great.